Welcome to Authentic Brazil 201 and happy Mother's Day. Sure. Today we're going to talk about what happens if slash when Luigi Mangione is found not guilty in both the state and federal court cases. Now, for legal references, let's just remember similar to the alleged shooter of what the fuck? The dude who killed the dude who allegedly killed Charlie Kirk and the dude allegedly who planned the third assassination of Trump at the White House correspondent dinner, and you know the alleged killer of Brian Thompson. Because remember, legally, none of them have been found guilty, and you have to say alleged. Just that's just how that has to work legally. Just so you people understand before you like yell at people, right? You all understand that? I'm curious because I don't think the bulwark people, right? They have this belief in institutions, and there's just a sentiment whether you're if you're under 40 to burn the institutions to the ground. And this is all institutions, right? That they're all corrupt, they're all broken, blah blah blah. And what's interesting is that so Law and Order, right? Regular Law and Order did a Luigi Mangione episode about a year ago, right? It was about 4 months after the death of Brian Thompson. And what was interesting is I think what happened in that episode is most likely what's going to play out in real life. And I think the pod save losers, the bulwark people, anyone who works at like the New York Times and those types of institutions are not ready for what happens if he's found not guilty. Because so in the Law and Order episode, right, when they begin to show like the video evidence and all this, right, the the DA, God, I can't even remember. I know President Grant is like the AG in New York in regular Law and Order, but I believe the district attorney in Law and Order is like a guy named Nolan right now. Um, he kept trying to preach it like, you know, he was trying to talk to President Grant. I don't know what his character's name is in Law and Order, right? That what do you mean the rules and institutions are going to hold? Of course they're going to find him not guilty. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I think the public sentiment isn't with you on this, right? And mind you, the episode before was their version of the Daniel Penny case, where the dude killed a homeless person, right? And like, remember, no one really gives a shit if like a homeless person is killed by anybody because like we can stop the performative activism. The only people who really care about that happening is like DSA style people, but they do it, and in the Law and Order episode, Luigi is found not guilty on everything, or it's or a hung jury, whatever, some situation like that. And he's like shocked, but how? We had the evidence. He doesn't realize the assessment. Now, there's a lot of truth to this. Let's say had let's say the alleged person was like, look at the person who allegedly tried to do Trump the third time around, that the White House correspondent, he's an unattractive dude, right? But like Luigi is an attractive, good-looking white boy. Like straight up, he is frame mogging. He is, he is look maxing. He is the original clavicular, right? Now, had he been like a fat guy or a dude balding or look like you know a person who would be like a creepy middle school teacher, I don't think the people would be with him on it, even though if they, you could say whatever you want, they support the sentiment. But because Luigi is attractive, and this is a key thing that people have to remember this, being an attractive white boy is all that matters. And Luigi is an attractive man. And I firmly believe he's going to be found not guilty on on everything. And I think people don't realize that. They're really like this the institution's trust. And I don't know what will happen when, because I think the state cases are happening before the federal cases, right? I think the state cases start in October and the federal trial is like in February. And I know this is the one jury duty everybody in New York wants to get to, which really says a lot about everything. Okay. I just, it's interesting. Because what do you do? Like, does it put the fear in CEOs? Because there is a class war situation rising in America because of billionaires and health insurance companies and things like that. And there is a rise that, like, if the things are going to change, the only way to stop it is if they fear for their lives, right? That, very Hunger Game style of it. And it's interesting because you have the idiots on the bulwark who are like, I care about democracy and norms. Why don't people care about that? Okay. Because they just hate all the new people who have been brought into politics. Look, I'm just saying, Watch the Law& and Order episode they do. He's gonna be found not guilty. That's very realistic, and it is what it is. Now, I do think the ugly dude who tried to kill Trump at the White House correspondent allegedly tried to kill Trump at the White House correspondent dinner. I think because he's ugly and he whatever, he'll be found not guilty. But also it's interesting how everyone's like, that's a conspiracy theory. They think like both the conspiracy theory on both the left and the right version of it. One is like Israel paid him to do it. The other is like, oh, this is fake, so Trump can poll numbers can rise up. It is interesting that after three attempts or four, what is it? You had the Butler one, you had the Florida one, you have this one. Like, what do you do? Right? What do you do? It is. Well, then again, on the Charlie Kirk thing, they're like Israel did it. Everyone, it's always Israel. Like, is so the God, I wish I could be dumb and be a conspiracy theorist. Seemed to be more fun instead of just me being a snobby classist. And I don't like, I think everyone should wear suits. That's my thing. Yeah. Also, do you know there's a Pokemon movie that takes place in New York City and there's like a terrorist attack on Central Park? I'm watching it right now for like no reason. I'm just like interesting. But yeah.